one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Mr. Bradford?
Present.
Mr. Everson?
Here.
Mr. Jenkins? Mr. Corbin?
Present.
Mr. Flurry?
Present.
Ms. Litch?
He was all on
Mr.
board.
Bowman?
Here. Tomorrow we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the Administrative Conference, special meeting, and city council meeting. Awards recognition of distinguished guests. Does any council member have any recognitions of distinguished guests at this time? Mayor Tyler?
None today, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that brings us to reports. Mr. Green, does anyone have questions or concerns relative to the property standards?
Mr. Chairman, Van, the clerk, had submitted a request for some information. I'll wait the administration's response to that.
Other than that, no, said nothing else then, okay? That's it. I'm not sure the mic's on. Okay. Mr. Crawford, do you have anything to add to the election plan or report for tomorrow? Anything to add for tomorrow?
No, the sales tax will be coming in at the next meeting, first of the meeting of the month.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sweeney, will you be having any type of report tomorrow? Okay. And I see no public hearing. Brings Mr. Crawford, there will be any legislation to be added for tomorrow?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there are no requests to speak. We have no confirmation or appointments to consider today, so let's continue to consent agenda.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, under consent agenda legislation to adopt ordinances and resolutions. Resolution number 75 rejects bids received from IFB number 17-040 Sport Trans Southwest Transfer Hub Project. This was due to a federal bid clause that was not in the bid submission. It'll be going back out and close on May the 23rd. Resolution 76 authorizes the mayor to execute an act of release of a 20-foot wide public utility servitude in the Idlewood subdivision in Section 2, P17 North, R14 West. That's in Council District B. Resolution 77 suspends provisions of Chapter 10 and Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the sale, dispensing, and consumption of alcoholic beverages at Corner Lounge for the annual Pre-Pink Block Party. Resolution 78 suspends provisions of Chapter 10 and Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances and any applicable provision of the Unified Development Code on April 29th, 2017, May 6th, 7th, 10th, 24th, and 26th, 2017, June 3rd, 9th, 10th, 15th, 17th, 24th, 29th, and 30th of 2017, July 8th, 2017, and retroactively for April the 22nd, 2017 event relative to sale, dispensing, and consumption of alcoholic beverages during the Shreveport Raptors soccer game at Loyola College Prep, Messner Stadium. Hang on a second. Okay. Having a phone moment. Okay, here. And Resolution 79 authorizes the purchasing agent to dispose by public auction of surplus vehicles and items.
Any questions?
Just real quickly, the Idlewild servitude. I read that, but I just wasn't familiar with where exactly that is. It didn't have a map, so I just wanted to make sure I understood where that was.
Absolutely. Mayor, city engineers coming up. Come on, Robert.
I can provide a map, Councilman, for this particular site if that's what you need for the reference.
Yeah, basically, I
Where is
mean,
it,
like I
Robert?
say, I read the description on there. I know the general area, but I didn't have a full understanding of what it was we were doing without knowing exactly where it was.
Okay, what it is, there used to be an alley there, but we closed and abandoned the alley, but we retained a utility servitude because we had a sewer main down the alley. But in this particular case, since they're developing the entire site, the sewer main's going to be abandoned. Therefore, we're releasing the servitude that we held for the sewer main for that
Right.
purpose. So it will all be out of the way. Everything will be abandoned. We won't have any responsibility.
And there's no other need to access that sewer main
That's
for
correct.
any other user at that site.
It's a dead end sewer main.
Thank you very much. That's what I needed to hear.
Yeah. On number 77, would you kind of clear that up? I see a blank look on Councilman Bradford's face. About the corner of the lounge where that located, an annual pre-paint block party.
They are wanting to have a party there. They have done it every year, and that is at the corner of Louisiana and what is the other street there? Cotton.
Yeah.
And it's a benefit for the Easter Seals and
Got it.
PACE and a few other organizations. So that's one we've supported the last few years.
Okay.
And, Philadelphia Center is the other organization.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crawford, please proceed.
Yes, sir. Under regular agenda legislation, resolutions on second reading and final passage are which will require only one reading. Resolution 73 authorizes the mayor to accept a donation of a passenger boarding bridge with American Airlines for the Shreveport Airport Departments. Resolution 74 authorizes the use of certain equipment by the Restore Cooper Road Community Foundation for an event at David Rains Park. The cost of that use of equipment is $395 for the event on May the 6th from 4 to 8 p.m. Resolution 80 authorizes the expenditure of citywide street improvements program C11003 funds for McDaniel Drive and various asphalt surface streets. This is remaining funds left in District F of the citywide street improvements 2011 bond projects, originally $3 million allocated for each district. And Resolution 81, a resolution that recognizes and acknowledges Rod Demery for the success of the television show Murder Chose Me, that profiles his work as a detective, and to thank Rod Demery for the national exposure and attention the show affords Shreveport.
Okay. Any questions? Any discussion? Mr. Crawford, proceed with introduction of the resolution.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Resolution 82 authorizes the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the Caddo-Bossier Port Commission, the Parish of Caddo, and the City of Shreveport, Louisiana. This is for a feasibility study to provide sport trans services to employees working at the port. $19,500 will be paid both by the port and the commission for this 6-month trial period.
Any questions? Okay, Mr. Crawford.
All right. Introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to May the 9th, 2017. Ordinance 45 providing for an increase in the millage rates, whereas the Shreveport Downtown Development Authority shall roll forward to millage rates not exceeding the maximum authorized rate and levying various taxes totaling 8 64/100 mills per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the bounds of the Downtown Development District of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana, as defined by LARS 332740.38 for the year 2017 in the amounts and for the purposes described herein. Ordinance 46 is an annexation ordinance tag number 1701, enlarging the limits and boundaries of the City of Shreveport for the Silver Point at Lakeside Unit Number 1 development in Section 27, T16 North and R13 West, Caddo Parish, Louisiana. Ordinance 47 amends the 2017 budget for the MPC Special Revenue Fund budget, appropriating the funds authorized therein. It takes $50,000 from personal services and splits that between contractual services for $46,000 and equipment for $4,000. These equipment needs have been said to be associated with for the UDC for financial stability study and to purchase some equipment. Ordinance 48 is to provide for and establish fees associated with the Unified Development Code. Ordinance 49 is a zoning issue, C-29-17, amending Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances. The City of Shreveport zoning ordinances by rezoning property located on the southeast corner of Watts Road in Linwood, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from B3 Community Business District to B3E Community Business Extended Use District, limited to automobile and truck body repair only.
In regards to number 48, Jeff, could you speak on that a little bit? Those fees.
Well, seeing it on the agenda was the first time I saw it too. So,
Mr. Sweeney may be able to speak to it.
I am not completely familiar with it yet. Although, I mean, I've read it. But if we could have,
Would it be a council to let Mr. Sweeney come forward? Okay, Mr. Sweeney.
Mr. Chairman, while he's on his way up, the fees are not in the code the way they are now in the UDC. And the UDC requires, well, should require that there be a separate ordinance establishing the fees. That's what this ordinance is doing.
Okay.
Sure. If y'all recall, back in December of 2015, the fees were updated because they had not been updated for, I think, since about 2008 or so. And so we had mentioned then that once the Unified Development Code was going to become a reality, that there would be some new fees that would need to be added to that list of fees that you changed back in 2015. And so what you're looking at is the majority of these base fees are unchanged. They're exactly the same, except there's a few things that we did add in, like we did increase some map fees and some zoning verification related fees, as well as on some of the certificates of occupancy. What the main thing that you're looking in front of you is, if you're looking at the one that's in red, there's one that's in red that's, those are the new fees coming in because of the UDC. And the items that are struck through are the ones that are being changed. So if you have two versions, you have a clean version and you may have the red version. I don't know if you'd have that in front of you or not. It makes it a little easier to understand. But like, for example, under the UDC, we have a thing called the special use permit. Well, we don't have that category under the current fee structure, so we needed to introduce that. There were some fees related to signage, because our signing categories are now different under the UDC than they were under the current code. So we had to bring in those fees and add those to that list of the fee schedule. Now, mind you, we didn't pluck these numbers out of midair. What we did is we used the same basis that we did back in 2015. We did a survey of several other cities in Louisiana as well as in Texas, most of which had adopted a UDC in recent years, and use them as a benchmark of comparison. So you have a survey that's attached to your documentation there of the other cities, such as Bossier City, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, Tyler, and several other cities that we made reference to as comparisons to what we should do going forward. So the fee structure would go into effect shortly after the UDC goes into effect, so that there's not a gap in terms of what we charge for applications. If you have any specific questions about those fees, I can
Zoning
certainly-
interpretation, $125. Could you speak on that just a little bit?
Sure. As far as zoning interpretation, right now that there was a fee, I believe, that was currently, and hold on one second. And a zoning interpretation is not the same as, this is where we actually do the research and everything. Hold on one second, let me pull that off of here so I can look at it. Actually, that is a fee that is not in our current code, and it's where we have to actually go into research on providing in-depth analysis of what the zoning would be. This is not a zoning verification letter. I don't want to confuse that. If somebody is asking for zoning, what their zoning is, it's not the same animal. This is where we actually do the research and actually provide them an analysis of what the zoning ordinance is saying.
Mr. Sweeney, now you're saying under the old
It didn't exist there.
So
This is a new fee.
Gotcha.
Correct, absolutely, absolutely.
So, Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Give me an example. Would this be for every application?
No, we always tell people what their zoning is if they ask for it. And if a company, it's usually a real estate company, will call us and ask us what their zoning is, that's a typical letter of verification, which typically only costs about $50 to do. We're talking about an interpretation. This is where you break down the ordinance and they ask for a full-fledged analysis of what the ordinance does. And it goes beyond just simply asking simple questions. It's something oftentimes they need for documentation, as in some cases maybe for legal purposes or whatever. This is a common fee and a common request in a lot of communities, and especially the ones that we show here in the survey. And it's a new fee that we have not had access to until now through the UDC.
Yeah,
It's so common, there's only one other state and city that uses it on your list here, but.
Right.
yeah, that one's a little, I don't know, there's a few things on here that,
And I didn't mean that as a criticism.
No, I understand,
there's a few things that do bear some further discussion though. When is our next master plan committee meeting? think we were trying to meet the last Friday of each month.
It,
so
it
that-
should be possibly the 28th. which
Yeah,
would be
that
this
looks
month.
like the 28th. Let's look at that and make sure. Yep, that's our next meeting is the 28th. Could council members who have questions about this submit them to me or Willie, and we'll discuss that in the meeting on the 28th. And if we could ask Adam to
Excellent idea.
put this on the agenda for that meeting.
Sure.
We'll give it
Is
to
that
him.
before, or after the next meeting, Mr. Councilman?
We're just before the meeting this Friday. So our master plan committee meeting is on Friday.
Oh,
and
Friday,
We'll go
okay.
ahead and put this on that agenda so we can discuss it
Okay.
in more
Oh,
detail.
Friday,
then.
okay.
So,
Okay.
Go ahead, Councilman.
I did press request to speak, but that's not done.
Well, it may have done blowed up, I don't know.
Okay, well, that's all right. Okay, so just so I'm clear though, so these have already been voted on by the NPC?
Yes. These are already
The
coming to you as
board's
a
already
recommend-
voted on these.
Right.
And during that, and maybe I'm looking in the wrong place, but during that, was there any public discussion, dispute, stakeholders involved in that whole kind of deal?
There was a public hearing for people to make comments, and we did not receive any comments from anyone.
And the one that, I'm going to just say for the record, that certainly sticks out significantly to me is that appeal number. It is, more than double what Bosier's is. And it's just a steep number. And I guess that is an appeal of a staff decision, not a board decision.
Correct.
and that's, which one are you looking at?
I'm looking at this thing, it's called Appeal of Staff Decisions, and it's on page,
Okay, now that number was approved by you back in 2015.
okay,
That number's not changing. Only the numbers in red are the new numbers. Please understand that. Anything that's in black and white, you approved back in 2015.
hold on a second, but
Mhm.
now I'm looking at, okay, I have some different ones, that some are red and some are not, so,
Right.
and I may be.
Well, I think Oliver's looking at the municipal NPC fee study structure survey that doesn't have anything highlighted in red. The other
Right.
one is the one that has things highlighted in red.
And I'm
Okay.
making reference to actual fee because
Okay.
with
sorry
the
about
appeal
that.
of staff administrative decisions, the $650, that
Yeah.
has been in your code since December of 2015.
Gotcha.
We're not changing that. So that's why I make reference to this one. The one in red, the one that has the wording in red is the new fees being introduced.
Now tell me what we're talking about on a code text amendment.
Okay, code text amendment would be if somebody wants to, other than the city council or the parish commission, in this case, the city council, if you guys passed a resolution and you wanted to have an amendment done to the code, you'd simply do that, give it to us, we would submit it to the MPC board, and the process would go through and they would review it and then bring it back to you for your vote.
And we pay you
If
for it.
somebody else wants to do a code amendment that is not part of the city council or part of the parish commission, they would have to pay $500 to get a code amendment or change the amendment. And it kind of cuts two ways.
They wouldn't pay it to get it, they would pay it to apply for it.
Pay it to
see if-
apply for it, yes,
So-
that's better wording.
So for instance, I hate to say, not that he does anything wrong, but a former city councilman sends some of these amendments. I've seen an attorney that's a former city councilman.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He presents this kind of thing, and I'm not saying it isn't good, but if somebody in the general public requests an amendment, this is the way it would go.
Yes, sir.
Unless they requested it through their council person who could just initiate it as a council action.
Yes, that's
And that would
typically
be
what
free.
will happen. So not very often would someone have to pay. But if somebody approached and says, we want an amendment, they didn't go through the process of getting a council member to just sponsor that through the process, then it's meant to be a fee because just because somebody walks in, they want to have an amendment, there should be some level of, I guess, process by which they are given that opportunity or that avenue.
Okay, and then just so that I'm refresh my memory on these fees, right?
Mhm.
When it's the cities, you guys keep them, correct? But
If it's-
on the
if the-
parish side,
You're talking about the fees, yes, and that's a very good distinction. On these application fees, the MPC actually retains the fees
okay,
if they're in the city. If it's in the parish, we have to refund that money back to the parish. We never get to keep the parish's money on application fees. That's been true for a long, long
yeah,
time.
no, I understand it. I mean, I'm not saying I agree with it, I just want to say that I understand it.
I don't agree with it either.
Well, I mean, well, that goes to my next question, which is, as part of this UDC
Mhm.
vote, this would need to be voted on by the other body as well.
No, because in this situation, we've broken it out into two separate ordinances. You will vote on it for the city, and the parish would vote on it as a separate ordinance for the parish. They're not connected together.
So they could have different fees potentially in the parish than we have in the city.
Yes, they could. And they do, because right now their fees are considerably different from your fees currently.
Higher, lower, or depends.
Extremely lower, and last time they amended their fees was in 2008.
Can we get a list of their fees as well?
The amount,
Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
you're welcome. I can provide you with their fee structure, which has not changed in in 9 years.
Yeah, just.
And
if
that
you-
change in
if you could-
2008 was a minor change,
It's-
so most of the changes, it's been over 10 years since
So
most
if you
of the
could provide us that list of what their fee schedule is, just as the way I would like it, and y'all let me know if y'all prefer it differently, but just an additional column that has what their comparable fee is.
Sure.
On the same structure.
Sure.
Because we need to be aware of that when we're, considering
Yeah,
it.
we meet Friday. Let me ask one more question. So, since you're up here and you referenced that we are operating with two different ordinances now regarding the UDC, I'm assuming that there was no difference coming out of the the parish commission meeting on Thursday.
They didn't even put it on their agenda.
They didn't even put it on the agenda.
Nope.
So, so for future reference, we will be operating pretty much on two different tracks. Parish on one track, city on one track.
I would say that's exactly what will happen.
How do you view that?
Well, that's what I live with right now, and we've had for many decades. It's been that way. You have a different code in the city versus the code in the parish. I would anticipate there is the likelihood that there will be a UDC for the city and a UDC for the parish, but that they will be different. As to when the parish actually does that is a big question mark. There's no definitive timeline or schedule or date at this stage of the game.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Again, I really do have some reservations about it, only because of the principle of the issue, that for the 2 years that we had this in discussion and a part of our citywide master plan agenda, the perception was that we was operating as a unit, merged into one document.
Yes.
And now that has changed. It just appears that that should have been pretty much communicated that it had that possibility. Then I think we could have moved in a different.
I agree. Since 2010, when the master plan was done, that was one of the principles by which the public, when they went through the process, and the citizens telling the elected officials what they wanted, that was one of the principles that they pressed. But 7 years later, change in elected officials, that message has been kind of basically lost. And so, to tell you that I'm surprised that we're at this juncture, I honestly, no, I'm not. And the way I look at it is that if the city wants to, I believe the city should go ahead and pursue what it needs to do, and if the parish wants to catch up later on, they can. If they decide they want to have their own separate UDC that's different, so be it, and that's fine. There's nothing that says you can't do that. So right now, as it stands, they don't even agree on the things they disagree on, and that's part of the conundrum. And so that in itself means that after 4.5 years, $450,000 spent, that, you know, all of a sudden there's this aha moment of, oh, I didn't realize that, even though we've been telling people all along. And for me, for 2.5 years we've been doing it. So, you know, kind of basically the cards are on the table, and the city is in a position to be the leader here and to do what they need to do, and we'll continue to work with the parish. Certainly we'll do that. But as to the timing of what they do, that's very hard to say.
I know it's beyond your control, but I think at the meeting on Friday, I'll have opportunity to address the
Right.
commission members there. But let me ask you a question. You may not know, but are they actually broken into a categorization of rural caucus, or is that just a term they
There
use?
is no such thing as the rural caucus, because every parish commissioner has rural territory. So you can't technically have a rural caucus because it's the same. In fact, we had our meeting, it was virtually almost every commissioner.
Okay.
Because even the most urban commissioners have rural territory. So that was, there is no such
That's the
thing
term
as,
they use.
there's no such thing as a standing rural caucus committee.
Okay.
So, and part of it is a philosophical difference that they don't, there's a feeling, or at least it was expressed in that meeting, that they don't particularly want to share the amendment process of the UDC with the city council. They want to strictly do what they want to do in the parish. And when you come to that point, that's when it separates the sheep from the goats, because that means it is a divided document and no longer is together or unified with the parish. So that's the reason why it's imperative that the city march forward and do what they need to do, and we'll continue to work with the parish going forward. I may be able to come back to you in 6 months to a year, and maybe I'll have some different news, but right now this is where we are. I would like to bring something to your attention, though, because it's kind of imperative, because timing is everything, as you know, in this world. You've got to remember something, that with this fee ordinance setting in front of you, there's a reason why it's here at this point in time. And because if we don't enact the fees such that they're close to the date of the 15th of May, basically my fee structure, or the fee structure we enforce today, goes away on the 15th of May. And so there would be no way to charge fees or application fees at that point in time, and then we would be basically doing everything for free.
Understood, and the timing is.
Unfortunately, I know that's the case. So.
You know, it's a little late to have to be starting to talk about this, but you know, at least we have the master plan committee meeting
Right.
scheduled when it does. It gives us an appropriate time to vet this and communicate with the other council members. I am a bit surprised that it showed up with my name on it without me having seen it in advance, but you know, we will give it our attention and
Sure.
hopefully be ready to vote, you know, in the appropriate time.
Sure, I understand, and so we'll certainly work with you on that. So, and if having this meeting as part of the agenda on the Friday will help explain the fee structure better, I certainly feel like there's a value in that. You just understand that most everything you're seeing is just the new fees coming into play. So.
Got it. Well, we will definitely look forward to having a more at-length discussion about it on Friday.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
You're welcome.
Mr. Crook?
Trying to find where we were, Mr. Chairman. I think we're under ordinances on
Counting on
second.
you.
Ordinances on second reading and final passage.
That's where we are.
Ordinance number 36 amends the 2017 budget for the general fund. This provides $227,700 from the city courts for reimbursement to the city for supplemental pay and additional purchases through the court's discretionary funds. Ordinance 38 declares the city's intention to establish an temporary servitude on certain adjudicated properties for the water and sewer consent decree project. Ordinance 39 authorizes the expenditure of $5,353,000 for street special revenue fund for the purposes of performing asphalt improvements on asphalt surface roadways in Shreveport. Ordinance number 40 levies a tax of 18 and 16/100 mils per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the city of Shreveport, Louisiana for the year 2017 for the purposes of paying principal and interest on the outstanding general obligation bond of the city of Shreveport. This is a decrease from the 19.10 mils in 2016. Ordinance 41 is a companion to Ordinance 45, already read. This levies a tax of 8 and 55/100 mils per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the bounds of the downtown development district of the city of Shreveport, Louisiana, as defined by LARS 332740.38 for the year 2017, and the amounts and for the purposes described herein. Ordinance 42 levies various taxes totaling 17 and 29/100 mils per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the city of Shreveport, Louisiana for the year 2017, and the amounts and for the purposes described herein. This is our current ad valorem tax of 2017 at 17.29. Ordinance 49 proposes to restore the previous 2015 ad valorem amount of 17.65. This ordinance provides for an increased millage rate, whereas the city shall roll forward to the millage rates not exceeding the maximum authorized rate and levying various taxes totaling 17 and 65/100 mils per dollar on all property subject to ad valorem taxation within the city of Shreveport, Louisiana for the year 2017, and the amounts and for the purposes described herein. And Ordinance 44 amending Ordinance number 129 of 2016. This is for the UDC clarification and city action by Councilman Everson.
Okay.
I have a question.
Question?
Councilman Jenkins. Okay, fantastic. So, I guess for the rolling back the GOB part of the millage,
Yes,
no
sir.
ordinance is required, right? That's why that's not.
That's correct.
Okay. And then secondly, the language that was in the paper last week, and this is probably really a William Bradford question, is that the formalized language that it has to say it as it does?
Yes, the language used in the notice is required box ad. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, and I'm talking about the specific verbiage in the box ad.
Yes. It is reflective of what the legislative auditor request that we put into the notices, as well as the state statute. I think it's the statute on.
It is unfortunate about that thing of which does not require a vote by the public.
I know.
That
Yeah.
sort of kind of suggests some things that it's very misleading, so that's why.
It's revised statute 471705B. And it provides basic language for it. And of course, it's also pursuant to Article 7 of the Constitution.
Okay. And the next question, I'm switching gears here, 39. So, distinguish ordinance 39, which has been on the agenda for some time now. That was presented, I think, in the infrastructure committee or by email originally from the administration of what we're gonna do with asphalt. That was the list that was circulating.
Right.
Then this one that was up here earlier for resolution 80. So that's really bond funds that, projects that hadn't been done in her?
That's correct.
You, if I can respond, you may recall the 3 million that each of the council members had from the 2011 citywide bond money. There were 2 districts that didn't have all the funding spent. District F was one.
Spent or
Allocated even.
Allocated.
But the
Okay.
previous council member hadn't.
had never come up with the
Right.
list?
Allocated nor spent.
That's right. Right,
Yes, ma'am. I wouldn't tell
No,
you.
no work done.
Nothing was
I
happening.
wanted- Yeah, but no. I
But
get it.
still, Council, District G did approve the streets for that because the previous council did not approve, that there were two different districts
That had
that had
never
funding
proposed.
left, right. And so the ordinance calls for the fact that the council member had to approve. So we worked with both of the council members. One did give us permission to go ahead and look at the streets that we were able to come up with a plan with corrective pavement index that showed the worst streets for that amount of money. The second council member asked us to hold up, and we've been holding for about 2 years, so we went back and looked at some other streets. And now we met with her, and we're ready to go and spend and try to get those streets done for that district.
Gotcha. And so, in her absence, but she is supportive of these streets, or you're not sure?
Well, I met with her and told her that we needed to do it, and she didn't say no. And so, but it's on the agenda, and if she says no, that means we'll wait another whatever number of years. But it's still $769,000 that we need to spend on those streets for the citizens from the previous council.
Understood.
Okay.
And it'd be an interesting dynamic if we get 6 votes for it, but one of them not
Yeah,
being
well,
heard.
if she
How that
doesn't-
actually happens with the ordinance
Well, I
that
did meet
started
with
the whole thing.
her. Well, I did meet with her. And,
But-
Several times.
But
several times, and we'll see what she says. So,
I think we got to, I agree with your, I mean, nobody's going to move forward, well, then assist us.
Put it out there.
That's all, I'm all supportive of that, but I want to make sure we are clear on how we got to where
Yeah, the
we are.
funding
on the
source.
two.
Yes, sir.
You're excellent. I think we ought to make you vice chairman. Okay, good. So we're on the right track.
If she
Yeah.
don't want it, I think both Willie and I probably.
I could tell you that if she's not interested.
I don't think the citizens in that district would
I
appreciate
know
that.
it. You
But
gotta ask,
I'm just
though.
teasing, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Mayor, very interesting point you just brought out, and I'm just wondering, I mean, there's a process, and I think it's a very fair and adequate process in which streets are identified. And we have a system, and then we have council recommendations. How much weight do you give to council recommendations over what you would consider the worst streets versus the council recommendation?
Well, let me tell you what we've done. And of course, this is, if we're speaking to this item, I can speak to that separately. But if you're speaking to like the overall plan that we've done,
Well, I was speaking, well, you can do both, but I was speaking generically, because I see, again, I see needs and I see
yeah. I see wants.
wants.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. What we've done, we work with the council member.
Sure.
We make the recommendation based on nothing but what the corrective pavement index tell us, so that there will not be any, political agendas or anything involved. And if a council member comes to us and say, we saw your plan, and I'm not talking about this pot of money from District F now, this is a whole separate.
Yeah, we're talking generic.
Right. And you say, well, I think this street is worse. And I say to you all, if you think that street is worse than what the pavement corrective index says, then let's take a look at changing the funding from one street, and you tell me which street. So when the citizens call, you can say, we feel like this street is worse. So we work with the city council member.
Well, and I appreciate that, and you have, I guess, been responsive to this council.
We have.
But in my district, and I'm sure in some other districts can also attest to the fact that we can throw a corn up in the air and streets will just appear.
Absolutely.
There's no one worst street in District A. There's a lot of worst streets in District
Absolutely.
A.
Absolutely.
And it's almost like, and you get it, I know you get it, as soon as they see a a truck or concrete truck, everybody want their street overlaid.
We know.
But there's only so much money or fund that could go.
Yes, sir.
And then they think that they're being mistreated, they're being overlooked. I'm a taxpayer too, type of attitude.
I understand.
And but at the same time, you know, I think the system that has been forthcoming has been a good system. But all we need is more money to do.
And you know, each year, as we get monies with the streets special revenue fund, we'll be coming back doing more streets. And I think, you know, I'm requesting that the council members will help us explain it to citizens. We explain it to them every day because, you know, we get the calls, we get probably many more than you do because I get them from all over the city. And we try to say to them, we know your streets need repairing. We know they've been in need of repair. We only got so much money. We used an objective tool to help us figure out where to start. But we're going to get to you sooner or later, hopefully sooner, as soon as we can get more funding. But as money comes in, we'll be coming back looking at the next worst streets based on the index that we've come up with that identifies those worst streets. And I know your streets are really, really bad. I used to live out there. And but the index tells us that some of them are worse than others. So that's where we start, if that makes sense to you.
Well, I mean, we gotta have a process. And I think the
Yes.
process that's being utilized is probably the best process. But again, we get feedback from the patient. I mean, from
A lot of citizens.
I spoke last council meeting regarding several streets that I wanted to submit as maybe substitutes, even though the index may have
Something different.
something different.
Yeah.
I'm going to submit those to you
Okay.
only because I have one citizen who lives on the street that had 3 houses. He said it has been promised to him for 8 years that his street would be a candidate for overlay.
That's right. We got that email today.
3 houses.
I got that email.
How can you email them back and say your street does not fit the criteria at this point? See,
No, sir.
I don't know. I'm being facetious, but I'm just saying that's what we face a lot.
Sure.
But anyway,
I know.
I'm
We
gonna
do
submit
too.
the streets and then you guys weigh them out, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other, Councilman Corder?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Usually when somebody starts a comment with, "I don't mean to nitpick," that means they're about to. So I don't mean to nitpick. But, and I talked to CAO Crawford about this earlier. As we're finally approaching the end of our 2011 bond funds in the street section, a lot of the numbers that we've seen in the breakdown by council district have been for the original estimate of those projects and the original allocations that we made. And I asked Mr. Crawford if we could get an updated list by council district of those projects that have been completed and what the completed amount was. I'm sure some came in under, some have come in over, and I know that when we have finished the last 2011 bond street project, we're all going to want to put our hand in that pot and get what remaining dollars are there. But I think it would also be fair to know where every penny has gone before we start that discussion. Because during our budget time, you know, Councilman Everson brought 2 worthy projects to us, but we still have projects remaining to be funded, and you know, those estimates may now be some 7 years old or 8 years old, and they may come in over that estimate.
Right.
But I think that would be a useful tool for us moving forward, whether that's something that this council works to divvy up those remaining funds, or if that's the next council that finishes those up.
Certainly would be good to know current where
Yes,
it is.
absolutely.
Because in the absence of that information,
Absolutely.
we can only assume, you know,
Right.
what we knew at the start. And
That's
when you
right.
start a project and when you finish it, those costs aren't the same.
That's right.
So
Absolutely. Give
it
us a
would
couple
be-
of weeks
Would
and
be really helpful.
Give
That'd
us a
be great.
couple of weeks and we'll get that for you.
And in addition to that, Mayor, in all due respect to the council members that was on the council prior to us getting elected, who was instrumental in getting the 2011 bond proposal passed and implemented, if whatever it takes to finish that project under their tenure, let's try to do that. I would hate to see us move beyond 2018 with some projects that they initiated and they have not been completed. I don't know where we are. If you can submit what's left on that proposal.
Yes, sir. If you notice, we're getting stuff done.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope,
mean, we're
I
not
hope
far.
you've
I know
noticed
we're
that.
not far, but
And we'll be glad to submit what's left. If you look at the progress report, we try to tell you all that we've done and where we're headed for 2017. And that's all in that progress report. But we'll submit it to you again. But we are trying our best to finish every one of those projects that were committed to or put out there from the 2011 bond. We made that commitment in the strategic plan. And if you'll go back and look at that booklet, I'll pass it to you, actually.
oh, yeah,
I can get it to you
I
today.
just review it. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
I can do that.
And it's in the very back.
Yeah, I know it wasn't many, but it was just I think would honor those council members if they could show a completion of closure
Absolutely.
to those projects.
There were a lot. There were many left.
Well, but you've been aggressive over the last 2 years.
Yes, yes. And we don't have many left, but we do have some left, and we're
Well,
working
you just
aggressively trying to get them done.
You just mentioned two $750,000 street projects.
Okay.
Councilman Corbin can donate me the rest of what he has left over.
Really?
Mr. Thompson,
That's correct.
you got any other business?
That's right.
Could I make a comment on ordinance
It
44?
will be.
I think I heard Mr. Bradford say that on Friday he was gonna talk to the commissioners about whether or not, or when they're gonna adopt the UDC. I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention that unless ordinance 44 is adopted tomorrow, the UDC will not go into effect on the 15th.
Until when?
It will not go
It will
into
not.
effect on the 15th.
Oh, okay.
Because they won't see it until the 8th.
Until when?
Until the 15th.
And I
They
think
can do
we
it after tomorrow,
understood,
so it'll be the
I know I
one. So
got
we're
an
going for the
email,
city on the 15th,
and I
which is the
can't
plan.
recall
Oh,
if
is that the UDC?
Art sent that or if Attorney Bradford sent that, that was discussing the timeline from the Caddo Parish Commission,
Right.
you know, at the earliest, what their timeline would be.
Yeah, I sent something today on that.
Yeah, that's what-
July 1st?
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, which mentioned July, so clearly their decision is gonna take a little longer than the one that we made, so if we wanna stay consistent with what we've said and what the public out there who's been developing projects for a couple of months expects, then we're gonna need to move forward with this one tomorrow. So if anyone does have any questions or concerns about it, please reach out. Be happy to talk with you either in this setting or offline and just answer whatever questions we might have.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, when did you ask me now?
Okay. I got another question before we move on. When did the actual millages, this is regarding all of these 40, 41, 42, the DDA one, when do they come up for vote again?
I know the ad valorem comes up next
You
year.
mean for the council?
No, for
No,
the public.
Oh,
I know ad valorem comes up next year, and so I would imagine that the DEDA does as well. Charles, don't they all? Or no? Okay.
Basically, I'd like a list
No
of
problem.
when they come up,
Okay.
because I have some
Renewal.
thoughts
Yeah.
For renewal.
on renewal.
I know the ad valorem comes up in 18.
All the city ones come off next year. DDA passed theirs for 20 years, so it doesn't come up like 22.
Okay, so all these ones that we're talking about rolling forward.
5 of them, just 5 of them. Not all of them are re-voted on. General Alimony,
And the
3
platoon system doesn't.
And one other one. I can't remember.
Right,
what
but
it is.
all of those that we have on our agenda
Yes.
will be up for vote in the public next year.
That's correct.
I don't think all of them, because in some of the ordinances, you have several different.
Well, of the 17.29, 5 of those millages do come up next year.
5 of how
The
many?
other,
All-
of 8.
5 of 8.
The other
Seven.
3 are not voted on.
That's what I
But what I'm saying is, whether we choose to roll them forward or not, this year, the public will get to make a decision on these specific
This is
ones
correct a mistake.
in 18.
Yes, correct.
That is what I'm,
Okay,
Is it on all of them?
On 5, on
Five
fi-
of
just
the
5
eight.
of the 8, yes.
5 of
All
the
It's
8.
all is voted on.
One of the ordinances has a number, has 8 different millages in it.
I see what you're saying, and each one is being rolled forward at various
That's correct.
levels, and some of those, if we passed now, would not be voted on.
That's correct.
Correct.
3 of
Just
them.
think about
Is
that.
it 3 or 2,
Okay.
Charles? I thought it was just general alimony and the 3 platoon system. The other,
Right.
there was 7. There was 7 in general alimony. There was 2 of them that are just legislative.
Right, okay, yeah, okay, there are only 7, right.
Yeah, the
okay.
general alimony and the 3
General
platoon
alimony and 3
system
platoon are not voted
will not
on
be voted
by the
on
general
again.
public.
And, you know, if I may, if I may.
Yes,
Mr. Chairman,
ma'am, please.
The rolling forward is to correct a mistake that was made by the assessor's office last year.
Correct.
And that's what most of the municipalities have done. Because of that mistake, we're asking for the roll forward on the ones to make up for that, for the mistake that they made. Now, we still have, we're still saving money for taxpayers. I mean, there will not be any more taxes that citizens will have to pay. In fact, they still save a little bit. How much is
They
it?
will. The ad valorem tax rolling forward will increase 0.36 mils back to its previous and voter approved maximum amount of 17.65. The GOB, because of the paying off of debt in 16, rolled from 19 to 18.6, so that was a reduction of 0.84. So the total for 17, put those two together, is a 0.48 millages less in 17, and most property owners will see a decrease in their property tax despite rolling forward the ad valorem millage, which will provide the general fund a much-needed infusion of a little over $500,000.
I wanted Mr. Matten to explain what happened when we first got the first notice from
Correct.
the tax assessor, and then we got another notice.
Right.
That caused you to do something
In May, we received a
differently.
report from, actually comes from the state legislative auditor, which is who the assessors send it to. They showed an increase in our millage, which required us to reduce our millages so that we basically earned the same amount in 2016 that we earned in 2015 on the same properties. When we actually got our millage, our tax roll in November, it was less than what they had estimated it would be back in May. If we had had the final numbers in May, we would not have lowered our tax millages, would not have had to lower our tax millages to start with, according to the legislative auditor.
Our 2017 revenues, for our 2017 budget revenues, are reflective of the 17.65 or the 17.29?
They're reflective of the 17.29 with the erroneous earlier figures
Right.
provided by the tax assessor's office. So yes, the fund balance is negative that amount current.
Yes.
I mean, our current, yes, our
Yes.
current fund balance
Which is-
is short 400 grand or whatever.
Well, the 16 fund balance is, which means your reserve is short that amount this year.
And then it's a double whammy because your forecast is,
Right, we forecast our 17 revenues on the estimates we had
16.
received earlier that year.
Absolutely.
Correct.
'Cause
so we
didn't
have a
receive-
shortage of end-of-year fund balance that was inaccurately projected.
Correct.
And then we have at this very moment, an inaccurate projection.
Correct.
For the
Shortage
current
of
year.
400 or
For
500,000.
17 budget.
For 17
Correct.
budget. Copy. That is a,
That's a double whammy.
that's a double whammy.
Yes. We were given erroneous information. And that's the result. And once we got the right information, it was too late.
We might have some struggle to get the tax assessor to stand up in the public domain and say he gave erroneous information. I'm not saying that he's doing anything wrong or whatever. I haven't asked him, but
on purpose.
I would think, no, he didn't do it on purpose, but,
Then why
I mean, that's what happened.
When a reassessment is done, every property owner has the right to go back to the assessor and say, you did my property wrong.
So that was not a final number. I mean, but you think that many contested assessments is what led to the
no,
error?
no, it's because they included properties that were in the parish and not
That
in
weren't
the
in the
city.
city. Yeah, that's what
on
I
the number.
understood.
It wasn't anything about contested.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No.
I thought you were implying that all of a
No.
sudden. I was thinking, well, I know a few people do that, but I don't know if it would account for that difference.
There wasn't a run on that this year.
Okay, got
Most
it.
of
I
it-
want my
Make sure I
property to
didn't
increase in value, I just don't want to pay the taxes on it.
Actually, most of it was oil and gas
Yeah.
properties.
Most of the
The
what?
biggest decrease was in oil and gas properties.
Values.
Yes. That's where the biggest decrease came from, in between the two numbers.
Absolutely.
Hold on a second, Doug. But that's
That's a different story.
a different story because when he gave you okay, that is true in terms of the total value. But our problem occurred is that there were properties included that should not have been included.
No. It is the values we got on those properties.
So does
And then how did?
Our original estimate that we received from the assessor was $1,555,000 of assessed value.
Okay.
That was the estimate that we got in May. The number that we got in November was $1,515,000, $40 million reduction.
But you're saying the total number of specific properties and included in both of those estimate and the actuals were correct?
The same number of properties in both of them.
Because that is not what I have been led to believe this entire time, that he gave us properties that were not on the city's tax roll. Now, I don't know where I got that information, but I definitely got that from either the email.
It's not in the email.
But I think the parishes was wrong too, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
But
So
I
it wasn't a question of,
But we're overvaluing the properties.
Flood properties too, right?
Some of them were flooded properties, yes.
Now, did not some of the other municipalities already move theirs forward so that they could?
Several of the properties, a couple of places, cities did it last year, and I know Greenwood, Blanchard.
I know Boulder City did theirs.
And Oil City are
Oil
all
City,
rolling
Boulder
theirs
City,
forward
all
this
of
year for
those.
the same reason.
I mean, I'm sure on the Boulder Cities, certainly because of the flooding had to affect a lot of their property values. Okay, so you're saying that his actual estimate that he gave you was a bad estimate?
$40 million.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
the initial estimate that we got showed our property values at $1,550,000. And because of that, we rolled our
Well,
millages
I got
back.
that. But, and then he came back, they didn't petition for a reassessment, these properties. Somebody did more research between that time and the end of the year?
I don't know why the number was changed. All I know is the number that we received in November for our assessments was $40 million less.
Maybe we should have.
I really request that we get the answer for why that is different. Because it made sense to me before, but it does not make sense to me.
We'll find out.
We can circulate the actual printouts from the assessor to you all.
well, let tell you why.
I want to know the why. I mean,
We'll have an answer for you tomorrow.
something formal that we can get from them that explains how we, because it seems like that's a definite flaw in the system if it is truly, they give an estimate before they actually.
Well, they did. And that's why we're in the predicament that we're in today.
Okay.
The chat.
Yeah, I misunderstood this because I was definitely told, or I made it up in my mind, that they included more properties that were in the parish that were not not City of Shreveport properties, that when they did their final number, they realized they couldn't be levying city millages against these additional properties.
The challenge is, Charles, correct me if I'm wrong here, there has to be an estimated period because we have to do the legislation before the actual notices are sent out with the actual amounts at the end of the year. Legislatively, we have to submit those millages that we're going to move forward to in the existing year by a certain time, which requires estimates from his office before we get actually figures that get billed in at the end of the year. So we're kind of at the mercy of those estimates when they come in each year.
And they roll back.
What's the deadline that we have to have them in by? If we're going to change it.
It's June.
It's June, so we have to take those estimates they provide us without actual figures.
The council actually rolled back based on that. Oh,
That's right.
Councilman Corbin.
As briefly as possible, explain the difference between ordinance 42 and ordinance 43. If 42 is 1729 100ths, and we're saying that's our 2017 assessment, then is 43 saying it's given us the ability to roll up to 17.65?
That's correct. You have to restate the current millage, that is
Levy.
the millage, that's millage levied of record for the previous year. Then you can roll, the law allows you to roll forward to the maximum amount that was voted on by the voters at the last election. That's going back to the 2015 figures of 1765.
State
Right,
law.
so-
And
So
basically,
you have to have a 42 every year,
Yeah.
no matter what.
That's
Every
correct.
year we
So
do.
but if 43 didn't pass, then it just
Stays at
stays
43.
at 1729.
That'd be correct, and that's why they're
Okay.
in there. Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Yes.
I always have a point.
That was brief.
That's brief.
public safety.
wasn't that what two
Thanks,
fifty?
Joe. No, it wasn't too bad.
Thank you, sir.
Any other
you, Charles.
discussion? Mr. Thompson? No. Any other unfinished business?
No, sir, I think we're at,
Table legislation.
property standards appeals.
Property standards, drum roll.
What day is it? It's 24th.
This year is half over. It was just like, it's a quarter over.
I
It's a
know.
quarter of the year.
I
I'm
know.
like, man, it was just
I know.
January. It was just January.
All right, our first case is 223 East Herndon Street. This property, we can close it now. The garage has been demolished by owner, and she has put up a new storage building.
So are we wondering if that's been zoned? Me, it certainly begs the question.
Mr. Everson, that's the building. So you're saying that this property is complete?
There was a dilapidated garage there
But it's
that's been
gone.
torn down, and they put a new storage building there.
Mr. Everson's on the building, what are you suggesting?
Close it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I so move that 223 East Herndon would be closed.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Bradley.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I've got a question. Mr. Sweeney, does that constitute an auxiliary structure?
That would be an accessory structure, yes.
And that would require some type of,
It has to be above 450 square feet for it to go to ZBA.
okay, so it's probably not.
That's
then.
not.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, who seconded the motion?
12.
Councilman Corbin,
Thank you.
any further discussion? Please vote.
Just call it a 12.
Tiny house.
It's not one of those little houses.
Mr. Flurry, what is your vote, Miss? I'm sorry.
A.
Okay.
You did? Okay. Next.
1722 Arlington Avenue.
Next case is 1722 Arlington Avenue. Councilman Bradford.
It's in here in Allendale. It's in Allendale.
Yes, this is in Allendale.
Mhm.
Lakeside, actually. I forgot about
Okay,
that.
now, what he has done is, it looks worse than what it is. The seals have been changed all the way around the structure. I did talk to him Friday and also today, and he ran out a little money, but he guaranteed me he would have the exterior wrapped if he had another 60 days, and he would have the premises cleaned this week.
Okay, and this case overlooked me, but, and I haven't spoken to the gentleman's, you know, my position is simply that if we can preserve property and structures, you know, I'm all for that. And you spoke with him and you're comfortable that
Yes.
he's shown good faith efforts in his work, and his intentions is to complete this as far as care premise area.
Right.
Okay, and you suggested 60 days.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I so move that we postpone this for 60 days.
I have a second. Chair second.
Discussion? May I have an amendment that if for some reason he doesn't clean up the property by our next meeting, it comes back to us?
I accept that friendly amendment.
Just, you know, so that part gets done, at least for the neighbors.
Okay. And make him aware of
I will.
that stipulation.
Okay.
Okay.
So how does that go? So what we voting on the amendment, and, okay.
You want to ask you.
Any other discussion?
Was that just accepted or was that second?
I second it.
What are you talking about?
The amendment,
The amendment?
Can we just,
And
unanimous for consent, accept it?
if that's your amendment.
That's my intention.
Okay,
So-
second by the chair. Any further discussion? Please vote.
Can't vote.
One. And that passed. Next.
Our next case is 4318 Hollywood Avenue.
She must be meeting with the constituent now.
Again. They're busy.
I spoke with our council lady. Something came up beyond her control. She couldn't be here today. She'll be here tomorrow.
All right.
Mr. Jenkins, we're gonna have to move you. You can't sit by Mr. Bowman anymore.
Yeah, they'll be over there creating dissension.
Okay,
Just stay
4130 Hollywood Avenue, the structure itself is leaning in on itself somewhat. Let's see if I can.
Which one is this?
Yeah, that's the front shot where you can get a better view of it.
Miss Kennedy.
It's like something in the middle had the house.
It's
I
like
passed by
someone
today,
bent
it's
it down.
Something in the middle. It needs to be torn down.
The owner, I have spoken with the owner, and she asked for 30 days to secure her own contractor, and I have given her a list of contractors. The house is now occupied.
You said it's not.
It is.
It is
It is
occupied.
occupied.
Someone's living in
It's
it.
not a relative or anything, just someone
No,
that's
it's,
just
he
vacant,
came,
that's in the premise. That's
he came out and
staying
let me in.
Oh, it's not a legal residence.
Right.
Are there utilities?
Homeless person?
There's not any utilities in that.
Homeless person?
Yes,
It
ma'am.
has utilities.
there. No.
No.
Okay. Now,
Goodness.
question, Mr. Chairman, where's the liability? Where do the liability lie in this case? I mean, if that house cave in on somebody,
Well, he's,
huh?
You know her?
it's on her.
Yeah, she's the owner.
But if she has somebody staying there illegally, she can have that person removed by law enforcement.
Right.
Now, if she's allowing them to stay there, then,
Yeah.
and that's some of the challenges sometimes we meet. We've had similar structures where the owner has given someone permission to stay in the structure, and when we have gone out there with property standards and law enforcement to remove them, we can't do that legally with them having permission from the owner.
Well, I guess my question is, and let me just say, and I think everybody know it, enforcing property standard issues is a very challenging thing. I mean, you can drive around District 8, and I would say 2 out of every 10 houses in some areas could be cited. I mean, it's just that prevalent. People staying there without permission, unauthorized. I mean, using them for different areas. So I understand that, but what I'm asking is that, as relates to this body, knowing that this house is not a safety, it's a safety hazard and in risk of falling, if we don't act to expedite the demolition, does that bring any responsibility on this body, Mr. Attorney?
There's a question of liability if the property needs to be secured, but if there's anyone who's illegally there, I don't think the liability falls on the city. It's the property owner and the individual who's unlawfully trespassing on that property owner's property.
Okay, so.
But we still have the requirement to go with the same notices and statutory requirements for demolition.
So she wants 30 days. Is there any, and it wouldn't make sense, but I guess to secure the building to tear down,
You have a prerogative to make the motion that it be secured, immediately secured, in consideration of allowing her 30 days to secure a contractor.
That don't work.
No. What's the recommendation?
Excuse me, just Council Corbin needs to speak.
Terrence, we've already postponed this for 60 days, I guess. We postponed it from February to April. So,
4318.
No, this is a new one.
This one, right?
oh, okay, I'm sorry.
4318 Hollywood.
I take back all my comments.
Okay.
Now, what was the recommendation, sir?
Well, I mean, I don't think that we have the authority to go in and put anyone out.
No, we can't, I mean, that's between
unless they're
her, just like
trespassing.
Miss Anna
Unless
Mae or
she
somebody.
says they're trespassing.
That's correct.
But, well,
She want 30 days
right.
for it to be
There are no
completely.
utilities there?
No.
No. I think there's an ordinance I need to look this up.
No,
You can.
we tried. We tried that in the previous
Right.
case.
No,
I can
it's hard,
give you
it's
an
hard to
address.
enforce. I mean, somebody.
I mean, there's a, habitation code, but somebody has to show up and complain.
Right.
And I'm not sure the way it's exactly written, but I don't know if the city can be the one that's the complainant. I think it's the neighbor, the residents, there's several different people that have.
I don't know about, because even the one in the famous one, in
Right.
Councilman Corbin's district, were multiple complaints. And the property owner was allowing someone to stay in the structure with no utilities. They were using water to bathe, flush the toilet, those types of things, and we had no law to stand on to remove them.
Until the
They had
bank
to
came
evict
back
them.
and took the property. That's the only way
That's right.
the squatter got out of there.
Yeah.
But it would seem like there should be some ordinance, maybe it's through the commission, or there ought to be something about health issues. If there's no running water or no sewer.
We had turned that over to the health department a number of times, but they never took any action on their jurisdictional authority to do anything.
Because as many neighbors asked me, where's that stuff going?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't want to give 30 days on it.
Was there any specific reason she wanted 30 days versus 15?
She asked for 30 days to basically get her stuff straight and try to secure a contractor. She said in 30 days, if she doesn't have it done, then she'll look at signing an affidavit with us.
How long is it going to take you operationally to get a demo ready anyway, if you were to do it?
That 30 days would, 30 to 35 days, so, I mean, you could
Run
give her that,
concurrently.
and we'd be ready by the time that's up
So
to,
you'll be doing it on a different track.
right.
So
We won't
regardless of what
stop
we
our
decide today,
process.
30 days would be the required time to get it done anyway.
Make a
Right.
motion to demote. The thing is, we can't, I don't think we can enter into a contract with a contractor and her, and then cancel the contract at the last minute if she steps in and says, I've secured a contract, I'm gonna do it myself. When we enter into that agreement with the contractor, he takes possession of the property, he gets in there. So I think that may be a challenge. That's
I'll
what we're
make a
sure.
motion for 15 days.
10.
Next
I
council
agree with
meeting?
10.
Next council meeting.
Next council meeting.
Next council meeting.
I second that motion.
I mean, because I get your idea, but I'm worried we're gonna get in a bigger ball of fuzz.
And if she can give us a progress report at the next council meeting, that would show us good faith in doing something.
I think even more than a progress report, I think this is one of those cases where we may need to specify, we need a bid from a contractor, and can we even say how, financing, or how you're gonna pay for it? I mean, we've discussed that before. I don't know if we've ever put that in a motion, but I don't want a situation where somebody comes up with some notes on a piece of paper and says, well, I'm still working on it.
Well, I mean, I don't know why I can't make a motion that says at the next council meeting for her to show up with a signed contract.
Yeah.
Contract.
I mean,
Okay, motion by Councilman
Fine,
Jenkins.
I'll second that.
And I have a second. Councilman Bradford. Any other further discussion?
What's the motion?
That she
Motion
has
gotta
15
show
days
up
to
here with
secure a
con-
contract.
to show up at this council meeting
With a contract.
with a contract.
Next meeting.
Next meeting. Well, I say 15 days, I don't know what the next
Okay,
meeting
let's
is.
say
May
next.
9th.
Yeah, let's say next
Next
meeting.
is all right.
I think it's the ninth.
Okay, any further discussion? Please vote.
The ninth.
That's not bad, you want that.
No. That hurts. I mean, that was such a good motion.
Wait a minute, what'd I do?
You voted the right way.
You voted right.
Okay, so now.
No, I
3 noes and 2 yeas.
So now what are we doing?
And motion failed. You know, make a new motion?
I mean, no, because of mine was
Hit the wrong
shut.
button.
Now, I mean, I'm happy to do whatever the will of this body if somebody present one that somebody wants.
No, I think the technicality was her showing up here with the contract. I mean, I would move for a, not necessarily a peer, but that she would provide us with
Right.
documentation showing that she has secured or engaged a contractor.
Right.
And
That's my motion.
what
You
the
just
motion
voted against that.
well, you said a peer.
Now we're on the same page. That's what I want. I just want her to have some.
Showing
She don't have
documentation.
to show up. You just need the documentation. She don't have to show up.
Sure.
That's
Okay.
giving too much time.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay.
So the remotion is that we would postpone it for 2 weeks, requiring that the
Documentation.
lady shows, provide documentation to.
Why 2 weeks?
Well, we won't meet in 2 weeks.
Have to see
That
her.
doesn't have to
Well,
be
it's-
We don't
limited.
have to see her.
But in 2 weeks, we can reconsider it if she's not brought any documentation to property
I mean, if it's
standards.
been
Okay.
this long anyway,
You're gonna have to put in another motion at that point.
let's motion out of here.
I will.
All right. Motion that at the next
Motion
council.
by the next council meeting, she has.
Motion by Councilman Bradford, second by Councilman Bowman. Any other discussion? Please vote.
The last one, right?
Actually, my finger hit the wrong button.
Well, that's okay.
I have a question.
Question by the clerk.
I have to write a letter. Is there any documentation that she could have that's not a contract?
No documentation.
That's gonna
Huh? Right?
He's saying, that contract is what we expect.
That's all I want.
Yes. So you can put
It is not,
contract.
like, for instance, what would be a substitute for a contract, Mr. Thompson?
Agreement?
Just an agreement.
An agreement? From a reputable contractor?
That she wouldn't have
Yeah.
to.
Who's on first?
Huh?
That's right.
From a
That's a
reputable.
contract.
Well, you could discuss that.
That's
That's what you said.
That's a
When?
contract.
So she needs a contract.
Period. Showing that she have engaged a contractor for demolition.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Is that right? Is that what your motion, is that the essence of?
That was the spirit of the motion.
That's beautiful, that's beautiful. That's good.
That was my motion.
You got it?
Trying to change it.
Okay,
You said a
You got it, Art?
yes.
I didn't
Okay.
say personally.
Oh, you
That's
did.
good. No other? Thank you. Thank you.
Check the tape.
If we
No,
talk about it
AD.
much more, we're gonna have a council work day and we'll all be out there fixing it.
We'll be out there turning it out.
Okay, are there any reports from officers, boards, and committees? Mr. Thompson, is our clerk's report.
In the interest of time,
Time?
That's all we have.
All the time.
we have no report.
No report. Any other business for the council? Then-
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I had some
Go ahead.
additional communication. You gotta plan the case.
Yeah, I got
He has a mustache appointment.
Grooming. Time to go.
Okay,
You got time tomorrow.
I'm gonna yield till tomorrow. That not gonna take a lot of time tomorrow.
I'm supposed to be somewhere at 5:30 tomorrow. On the steps.
Me
of
too.
the-
I'll give you a ride.
Okay, I'll ride with you.
Where's that?
Well, no.
We gotta
We're at 5:30.
I gotta go to a sports bank for sixth grade.
Well, see, we've got the, over at the juvenile courthouse on the steps where they have that ceremony tomorrow. So at 5:30, I gotta be on to support our youth.
Councilman Bradford, and highlight value of red.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask him, are y'all going for 5:30 over to the juvenile court building on the steps tomorrow evening to support, the, juvenile court stuff tomorrow? You don't know about it?
I don't know about it. I mean, I may have, but I don't know about it.
I'll tell my guy.
It's a communication. You communicate, somebody communicated with the council?
I feel a lot better.
It's not my thing, I just